baffles in there so that it doesn't rock around as much. So you watch the drone, how quick it reacts as soon as we start. That's where it just gets its efficiency because it's so smooth and how it flies. G'day guys, Jamin here from Oztech Drones. We're back again now. We've got XAG's latest drone. We've been wanting to bring this one to market for quite some time now. We've had it for roughly about 2 months. We've been testing it, putting through the paces, which is quite good in Australia. It's summer here, so we've been putting it through some of the harshest conditions, and it's been quite amazing, to be honest. So we'll run through. We've got a lot of questions we want to go through. There's people have asked us questions about it. What's changed? What's new from the previous model? Is it worth upgrading? So we're trying to give you what we've found out in the field. You know, pretty much it's not a sales pitch, even though we do sell them, and say this is what's better, this is what we do like, this is what we don't like, and those sort of things. So straight off the bat, when I first seen it released in China, I remember seeing it. We went over to China and had a look at it last year. I just thought, man, this thing just looks flimsy, you know, like it doesn't look as beefy and as solid as the P100 Pro. But actually, when you do get up to it, when you do get close to it, it is just as solid as the P100 Pro. Like the main thing when I seen these legs down the bottom, and I'm like, you know, these things are just going to break off. But they are definitely solid, you know, like you're not going to break the thing at all. The main reason why they've gone to those legs is purely because they're trying to reduce the cost of repairs. So this whole drone here is made to reduce the cost of repairs. They know that the typical operator is going to crash it. Like you could be the best operator in the world, but if you're going to operate every day, you know, throughout 5 or 6 years or whatever it is, you're going to crash it. Like you're going to make a mistake. Operators try and push the boundaries when they're manually flying and those sort of things. A lot of operators will crash. So they've built the drone to pretty much be easily repaired and cheaply repaired out on the field with low cost. So what it is pretty much everything is interchangeable. So the front end arms will fit on the back arms will fit on the front. They've got brake points here so that if you do crash, this part here will break rather than breaking the motor side. So this is a lot cheaper, obviously, than replacing all this. Everything is interchangeable, from the handles, from the clips, from each side is the same. Even the front and back compartments are the same. So you can just buy that certain section and it'll also fit on the back. Same with the legs as well. A big expensive part of the previous model, so the P100 Pros, was buying the legs, because purely it costs a lot in transport to get them here. It costs a lot to send them to you. So now you can just buy that one bar rather than the big whole, the loop of the P100 Pro. They've also changed. In previous models, they had the cables running all the way up the arm. So if you had a very bad crash, it would actually break that cable and you'd have to buy the whole thing. Now what they've done is there's actually, with the motor, all your connections are in here. So you can just unbolt it straight from the ESC. It's not going through the front. They've kept with the same design as the P100 Pros. It's a proven system. The what's it called? The flappy flip. I call them flippy flaps, but they're called rockers apparently. Rockers. So what they've done is they've kept the same design as the P100 Pro with the rockers, purely to keep it a lot more stable, a lot less stress on the motors. We're not having issues with motors at all, which has been really good. You can even see under here, like even you've got all your arms here. You can see you can just that will fit on the back arm as well. So that way when you buy the whole arm, you can use it for any arm. You've also got another option at the front. You can put 4 sprayers on these, same as the P100 Pro upgrade kit. The P150 can, you know, support 4 spraying for orchard and those sort of things. They still fold up the same, a lot easier. You're not having just one clip on each side. And they actually have these clamps now that just push in and grab. Yeah, so those clamps grab that quite easily. Just pushes in there. And you can have the props there. They do come with clamps that hold the props. No idea where ours have been, but anyway, they're somewhere. So again, very simple, and it can't come off either because there's a secondary clip that holds it. You'll see this one's quite dirty. It actually, we've probably put over 1,000 hectares already on this one, trying to break it pretty much so we can find what issues there are, and we haven't even found any yet. So if we come around the back here, we'll run through a few things. So they've upgraded now to a 30 litre a minute pump. And a big thing that I remember when it came out in China, they've upgraded to an impeller pump. I thought, why the bloody hell have they gone to an impeller pump? That's like going backwards. The old peristaltic pumps were a big thing for XAG. Now, I haven't had any issues with the impeller pump, so so far they've been really good. They're easy to clean. We actually haven't even cleaned the thing yet, but it's easy to pull out. You're not having to replace the pipes like the peristaltic pumps and the old ones. And you can just, if something fails, you can just put a new impeller straight in. Very easy system. Pumps apparently they reckon it's a lot more consistent with its pumping, so we haven't had any dramas with it. Like I said, they've upgraded to the 30 litre minute pump now. On the back here, we've got the nozzles, pretty much the same. They have changed the discs in the nozzle, so it's got a few more grooves in it to grab that droplet a lot quicker. The big thing with these now too is with these new discs and the way that they pump, it actually allows you to do a 1500 micron droplet, so a very, very coarse droplet, whereas previously we could only go to a 500 micron. Now we can produce that 1500 micron droplet. So great for very, you know, some of your herbicides, or if you want to do very spot spraying, you can choose that 1500 droplet, and yeah, it's been great. So we'll go around. The tank on these is a 70 litre tank, or 70 litre, you can put 75, but they say 70 litres. Its rated capacity is 70 kilos. So 70 litres, we haven't had any drama with the 70 litres. Yeah, so with the baffles in there so that it doesn't rock around as much, because obviously we're getting to a size now in these drones that they're carrying 70 litres of liquid. That's 70 kilos. And if you're stopping and starting so quick, you don't want it to rock as much. So those baffles do make quite a big difference. Obviously it's got the quick fills and everything like that on there. You've got your different fill up points. Same system as the P100 Pro. It's got 2 clips on each side, so you can just unclip and put it on your seeder. Very quick system. You're not having to worry about sliding stuff in and doing all that sort of stuff. We'll come over here to the actual batteries now. These are some of our older batteries. So a lot of the questions we get asked is, can I use my P100 Pro or P100 or V40 batteries in the P150? Yes, you can, but you can only run, if you run the older model than the 70S, the 13970S batteries, then you can only run a 60 litre tank. So it decreases the payload by 10 kilos. Purely because these older batteries, they have a smaller fuse inside the actual battery, whereas the new ones have a bigger fuse. I think it's a 200 amp compared to a 175 amp or something like that from memory. So you can run your older batteries in here, you're just limited to your payload, so you can only go 60 litres. So what a lot of guys are doing is when they're upgrading, they're keeping their standard batteries and then they're just adding, you know, another 1 or 2 new batteries until those older ones degrade over, you know, another year or 2, then they'll upgrade to the newer ones. So another big upgrade with the P150s is probably one of the main upgrades, to be honest. So XAG has a very good hardware system. They have a very good spray system. What they lacked in the past was their firmware and their controller. So now they've upgraded all that, and to be honest, it's pouring down here. Anyway, so we are extremely impressed with their new system. So they've brought out a new controller with an inbuilt screen. A lot of guys didn't like the, you have to have the phone. They've now put an inbuilt screen on it. They've also updated how the controller talks to the drone. So it uses a whole different channel system now. They've upgraded how you compare your drone. Everything now is just a lot smoother process. A big upgrade obviously is the camera quality. So we'll put some videos up here, you can see them on flying. But the camera quality now is at a stage where you can actually fly this like a normal drone off the camera. Previously, the camera was a bit laggy. It was there, but it was a little bit laggy. This one now is a lot better feed. It's actually a good quality camera on it now. You still have the 2 options. You have the front camera and the camera pointing down, so you can swap in between the 2. Everything now they've changed to a landscape mode on the actual drone, so you can see, you know, where we are. You can see, we'll put up some other videos on exactly how to map out and everything like that. But everything on the actual screen now is a lot more user friendly. Previously, that was a big drawback for a lot of people because it wasn't very a user-friendly platform. Now they've changed a lot of their firmware, and to be honest, a lot of this firmware is now available for the P100 Pros too. So you'll see over the next few months, you'll see a lot of this firmware coming out on the older models as well that you can also use. Not the actual controller. A lot of people ask, can we use the controller on our P100 or a P100 Pro and those sort of things. Unfortunately, I would love to as well. We can't, because what it's using a whole different channel system. It's a communication system. So unfortunately, it doesn't work with your P100 or P100 Pro. The controller is extremely comfy to use. I had the training guys and you know, for our CASA inspectors and stuff like that, they were quite amazed how comfy it is and how nice it is to fly with this thing. Like, and the responsive of it is just, it's just so nice to fly. Like, it feels like you're flying like a tiny little drone. Like, it's so nice to fly. In terms of range and those sort of things, we did some range testing. We got out to that 1.82 kilometer mark, which is what XAG say. And still crystal clear video feed. We didn't lose connection of controls or anything like that. That's just when the camera started to sort of glitch and those sort of things. Obviously, it depends on, you know, if there's obstructions between you and the drone and those sort of things. You can also get the DL1, the range extender, which we'll talk about more. You can put that on your roof to get better range and those sort of things. But in terms of it would have probably 3 times the extended range of what the old Arc 3 was. So yeah, we're very happy, and with, you know, it's still got all the rotating buttons. You can turn your sprays on and off and all those sort of things. It is quite easy to use. Everything's all inbuilt in here now too. So literally, if you want to connect to the internet, it's just swiping it down, connecting like a normal tablet or everything. It's all built into the actual screen. With the DL1, you can also swarm multiple drones as well with these. You can also do multiple fields. So, you know, you can select 10 fields to do at once. It'll just go from field to field. You can also do the spot spraying. There's heaps of different functions now, prescription maps and all those sort of things. Bloody hell, every time we come out of here, it just starts raining. A few other things, we'll keep walking around the drone. So a big, huge thing is it has a new flight controller in it. Super X5. I think it's the Super X5 on this one. So what it does is it's really improved its pretty much how it thinks in its automation. It's so quick. Like, I've never seen a drone that it gets to the job and starts spraying this quick. It doesn't think about anything. It's just so smooth on how it does it. It goes up, doesn't have to think about where it's going, just goes straight to the job. Even when it runs out, it knows to start turning before it starts running out, and those sort of things. The productivity doesn't just come from the tank size, it comes from how the drone thinks. It's like when we took the step from the P100 to the P100 Pro. Righto, back out here for the 98th time after this rain. So back talking about the flight controller, that is where we're finding the most efficiency in the actual field. A lot of people say, you know, it's using the same batteries. Why is it more efficient? We've found it's not just because of the tank size, it's because it gets out there and just starts doing the job. It doesn't, that's where most drones lose their efficiency. Not when it's spraying, it's getting to the job. A huge advantage with the new flight controller as well is now we can fly up to 18 meters a second, which is 65 kilometers an hour, or I think for the American guys it's 40 miles an hour or something like that. So 65k an hour compared to the previous 50k an hour, it makes a huge increase in getting to the job and starting spraying. You can also spray at that speed as well. Does not muck around, it gets to the job and starts doing it. So that's a huge advantage, whether it's been spreading, seeding, even spraying. Seeding at those sort of speeds increases the productivity a huge amount. You'll see as soon as it takes off, it just doesn't even think, it just gets out there and gets going. We've got a new radar on this. Obviously every year they get better and better. It works, it's going really well. We haven't had any dramas with it. It hasn't hit anything yet. I don't know how to say it's better, because it just is better. We will do some videos on how it goes around and everything. Yeah, obviously, like any drone, they always say use the radar as a backup. It also has now the 3D free real terror, it's called. Very confusing name. Pretty much you can set it, turn it on, you can just go up to a massive big orchard or a big forest, and it'll just go over it without any mapping and everything like that, because it's using the terrain following, using the radar in the front to create a 3D image of what's in front of it, so it goes up, not what's just underneath it. Obviously at the front as well, you've got a big thing I've found is the new light. It's pretty awesome. It's actually very bright on the light. You've got two, you've got one underneath as well, and one at the front. And obviously the camera. The camera is a huge upgrade in this. Both of the cameras are just way better. Like it's, yeah, it's just quite impressive of how these cameras are. which XAG has definitely lacked on in the past, and they know that. It's helped us out a lot for mapping out fields and those sort of things, especially spot spraying and when you're manually flying. Having a good quality camera, we're finding is unreal. Bloody hell, this rain. Do you reckon it's slowing up? I think it's slowing up. Righto, so we've got a few questions here. We put the word out and we had quite a fair few I got to go through. I'll just go through the main ones. How many litres does it hold and what's the battery life? That is actually a very good question, because a lot of people say, righto, well, you're using the same type of batteries. You're still using 2 batteries. They're still the same capacity as such. Can it pump out enough in that time to empty that tank and still, you know, have enough in the batteries? When we were working side by side with a P100 Pro and a P150, we'll do some videos of that as well for you, we were finding they were both coming back at the same amount of battery. So they would come back at roughly 50%. So the P150 was putting out 70 litres and the P100 Pro was putting out, I think we had the 50 litre tank on that, it was putting out 50 litres with coming back with the same batteries. So it was still coming back at 50% battery, but putting out 70 litres. Purely because, one, it flies more efficiently with the bigger props, and 2, the speed, how it can get to the job, and it's not mucking around. It's not like the P150 will go up, sit, start turning to the job and then go. This thing just starts, it's incredible to watch. Like, it just does not muck around. It just gets to the job. So that's where the efficiency is hugely increased, because the most battery you're going to use is when you're getting to the job. So as quick as it can get to that job and start spraying is where it will use its battery less. So that was a huge advantage we found. Was it only had, you know, it had 70 litres in it, but it still only used 50% battery. It's still just as efficient as the P100 Pro, even though the P100 Pro only had 50 litres. So that was a huge efficiency. We were still spraying at the same settings as well. So when we sprayed, we wanted to try and test right. Well, we're still going to just spray at 13.8 meters a second or 50k an hour on both of them, and we still found that it was the same. Whereas if we upped it to 18 meters a second or 65k an hour, that would even make it more efficient again. So yeah, there's still those tests to be done to see how much more efficiency we can really get out of these things. What else have we got here? How much does it weigh? A lot of people, righto, we're getting a bigger drone. Can I lift it on my own? To be honest, what XAG and a lot of manufacturers are doing now, they're trying to stay under that 150 kilo maximum takeoff range. So what they're doing is also they're making the aircrafts lighter. So I think this whole aircraft, I worked it out, I can't remember what it is. I think it was about 40 kilos unloaded that's with no battery, still with a tank and everything like that. Maximum takeoff weight from memory, don't quote me, I think it's like 138 from memory. I don't have the specs in front of me, but you can look at all them on our website anyway. But it's not much heavier. I think it's like a kilo or something more than the P100 Pro, even though it's a lot bigger. They do have the nice big handles on here, so it's not that awkward to get it in and out. Normally guys will just grab it from the front, lift it up and put it on the ground. So it's not that awkward to get in and out. Obviously as they get bigger, they are getting a little bit more awkward, but it's not like you can't definitely not get it out with one person. You can still do it with one person or 2. Another big thing that I want to talk to as well is, I remember when we seen it in China, we've seen the batteries have now moved into the middle of this drone rather than like the P100 Pros, which are on the back. I always thought this is going to be a prick to get the batteries in and out, you know. It's going to be annoying because obviously you have the tank on the side. It is quite easy to get from the back, but I thought it was going to be an absolute, you know, a nightmare. To be honest, I haven't noticed any, I haven't even really thought about it until after we started using it, but it's no different. And it's actually a lot better, we're finding, having the batteries in the middle for 2 real reasons. One is, with the batteries at the back, we were noticing, and a lot of people will notice, is the batteries they start to get over a day, they'll just get covered in chem. Not because, you know, obviously the sprayers are down there and spraying, but sometimes when you turn and the wind's blowing up in front of you, that will then also create like a vortex out the back here, and it'll push down on your batteries. You're getting a lot less chem now on the batteries when they're in the middle, like practically nearly zero. Also, another big thing as well is inside here, when you take them in and out, because previously when you were using the water coolers, the water was just dripping all on top of the pumps, which, you know, they're waterproof and everything like that, but over time You can have issues with your pumps, obviously, because there's always water dripping on top of them from the batteries. They've changed it now. There's big drains down the bottom, pushes them away. You're not having any water or anything on your pumps. It's all completely dry in there. Having, obviously, with the batteries in the middle, it's better center of gravity and those sort of things as well. That's one of your heaviest parts of the drone, so it flies a lot smoother. So yeah, that definitely is a big advantage. You can fly as well with just one battery in it. So it's like it's a safety feature. If one fails, it'll still fly. If you do have one battery in though, you can only put half its payload. I think it's like 25 kilos or something like that, 25 litres. It'll tell you on the controller, it won't let you take off. So for instance, if you don't have a battery clipped in properly, won't let you take off. The big thing XAG, why they've still kept with the 2 batteries is they're nice and light, you know, like I've seen some of the new models in China of other brands, and yeah, if you've got little spaghetti arms like me, you know, putting it in and out every day is not fun. So they've kept with the 2 battery system, and it's always worked well. Questions? What other questions? How robust is it compared to the P100 from P150 to P100 Pro? P100 Pro is known as like a tractor. Like, you cannot kill those things. Like, they just keep working and working. They're robust as. And so far, this thing's no different. We haven't broken any pumps, we haven't replaced any pumps, we haven't even taken these pumps out yet to clean them. This thing's done over 1,000 hectares, you'll see that's why it's a bit dirty. No issues. Like, 1,000 hectares isn't much anymore, like it was a lot a few years ago, but now, like, yeah, it's quite, yeah, it's not flimsy, or it's solid. Like, yeah, you can't, like, you could jump on the thing and not have any problems. In terms of robustness compared to the P100 Pro, I'd say they definitely haven't gone back in their quality or anything like that. Everything is still just as strong, just as easy to work on. If anything, it's actually a lot easier to work on because they've simplified a lot of things, like in terms of the wiring, it's just all more accessible and everything like that. We still find you can run 2 chargers, 4 batteries. Some guys do that. That's all we've been running here. But if you're wanting to go like 4 batteries is in 2 battery sets, that's what we've been running here. But we're finding if you are flying long distances to get to the job and those sort of things, or very hilly terrain, or up and down and those sort of things where you are using more battery, we'd recommend going 6 batteries, so 3 sets. And it depends on what generator, you can get a 3rd charger later on if you want. It all depends on what you do. Everyone's different. We have guys that just use 2 batteries and 4 batteries and 2 chargers, have no dramas. We have guys that need 3 chargers and 6 batteries. So yeah, it all depends on how you're using. The biggest thing is keeping them cool. Obviously XAG have their new misting cooler system now. You can also put these batteries in the older water tanks as well. That's no dramas. So yeah, there's all that as well. A lot of these questions here is what I've already gone through, you know, like how much does it weigh, how many litres can it hold, what's the signal quality, what's the firmware like, a lot of those sort of things. Efficiency, I guess, is still, obviously it's faster than the Pros, so the Pros used to average about that 15 hectares an hour, some guys getting 20 hectares an hour. These things, I actually haven't timed it yet, so I'd say it's, you know, probably another, XAG say it's 20% faster than the P100 Pros, like 20% more efficiency, so you'd be around about that averaging 20 hectares an hour. To be honest, you're only going to achieve that if you have a very fast refilling system when it's on the ground. That's where everyone loses their efficiency. So as long as you have that fast filling process, you can get off the ground and start spraying again, you're going to get that, you know, 15, 20 hectares an hour quite easily. And that all depends on your hectare rate as well. Like, rightio. So this is the DL1. So it's one of XAG's new products. It's pretty much a data link. That's what it's called, DL. So it's pretty much all it is a fancy range extender. So you can have this, you don't have to use it, so it's an option. You can put it on, like, what, say for instance, some of this cane's starting to grow a bit now, so when we start our ripening season, what we'll do is use this, we'll put it on a pole above our truck, so that way, if the drone is, because, you know, from your controller to the drone might, you know, because there's a heap of cane between you and the controller, might start to lose its signal a little bit. So the DL1 is pretty much just a range booster. The controller connects to this connects to the drone. I know there's probably a lot of guys previously that probably having nightmares about these things from the old LNT days. It does look similar. I can vouch that it is a lot easier to use than the old LNT. Like I said, you don't have to use it. You can also, another bonus with these, you can plug, they have a direct link for Starlink. So you can directly plug Starlink into these as well. There's literally an import, XAG have put an import for Starlink. So you can directly put Starlink in it and then just connect straight, you know, if you're wanting to use like cellular RTK and those sort of things. The new controller, you can also say, if you have like a Starlink Mini, you can just connect it to its hotspot as well. There's those options as well. You don't need internet at all to run any of these devices. A lot of people think that you do. You don't need internet to run anything. The only time you need internet is if you want to upload the satellite map behind it, or if you want to do a firmware update or those sort of things, or if you want to run like a cellular RTK unit. XAG also have a few other things. They have the XRTK6 now, which we'll go into more depth later. We've got one here. So all it is pretty much like, it does quite a few things. It uses like a PPP system. So it's pretty much XAG's new RTK system. So you can set your RTK up pretty much anywhere and move anywhere, so you don't have to set it up in the same spot. You can use that as well. We've just been lately running off just virtual RTK, VRTK it's called, so there's that option as well. So there's a few options with the new P150. You can also just use a phone. Like some guys still, they don't like the controllers, they don't like big bulky controllers. Some guys just like using a phone, so you can still use the phone. There is an option with the phone with the other little remote, so that's an option as well. I know when we were in China, we visited China, we said we went and seen some big operators, and I remember asking, you know, like, oh, how's the new controller? And he just looked at me funny. He's like, oh, no one in China uses the controller. They all just use the phone because they don't like a big bulky controller. That's why XAG has taken so long to bring out a good controller. So that's why they're big on the phone option as well, because you can just use a phone directly to it as well. So I think we've pretty much run through, well, all that I can think. It's about to pour with rain here again now. If you do have any other questions, just flick them through. We do have our first pre-orders of these already. Well, we've got another 30 coming in, and we have already sold probably already nearly half of them, and we haven't even advertised them yet. So guys, if you do want one, get in touch, because they're going very quick. Not just saying that, they literally are. So yeah, get in touch, we'll sort them out. We'll do all the training and everything with you as well. We've got guys that just train you to do all that. Yeah, we're very happy with this aircraft at the moment. It's been unreal. So if you want to have a look, come and have a look. We've got them at our workshop. You can come and see them now. If you want to take them for a fly, see how you feel and everything like that, hit us up and we'll sort you out. Overall, we're pretty happy with it. There's no major issues that we're worried about it or anything like that. It's definitely, in my opinion, I'm not just saying it because we sell them. I think it is now the best spray drone you can buy, like internationally. It's unreal. So yeah, very good. I think that'll do. We're gonna get very wet in a minute. Let's go.